I don't like to do it, but I have to. It literally triggers. I don't like to use the word trigger. There's very few things that trigger me. Police officers trigger me, and mainstream media interviews trigger me. I'm not joking. There's a visceral reaction that happens in my body where I want to jump through the screen and choke everybody. It's so horrible. But when y'all hear the interview, y'all will understand why. So now I'm just gonna go to y'all for therapy. Whenever I gotta get forced to watch an interview, y'all gonna get forced to watch an interview. So welcome to the show. All right.
In protests across the United States, spreading violent clashes today between police and students at USC and UT Austin, where more than 20 people were arrested. This follows protests at NYU, Brown University, and Columbia University, where an encampment has taken over part of the center of campus. More than 100 have been arrested. In-person classes have been canceled after 8 straight days of demonstrations. I was on that campus earlier today to interview the House Speaker, Mike Johnson. This is what I saw and heard. Johnson walked out. There were hundreds of people on the steps where he and other GOP representatives that he had brought along with him and his entourage spoke. They were, and I'm going to show you here, this is my cell phone video, chanting "Free Palestine," heckling, booing when Johnson called for the president of the school to resign. They were not friendly. They couldn't actually hear the speaker, which I can tell you is a good thing, because much of what he said would have incensed that crowd. And after the press conference, the speaker's team moved us inside into the Columbia Library, where the speaker did interviews. They put that entire space under lockdown because of that large crowd. So here's our conversation right after that, hundreds of people outside when we rushed inside the library, moments after that tense press conference. Speaker Johnson, thanks for your time. Obviously, there's a lot going on in Congress right now. You've chosen to travel to New York, and as you were just out on those steps calling for the resignation of the president of Columbia, there was heckling, there was shouting. It was not a warm reception.
Enjoy your free speech.
Were you surprised at all by what happened?
Well, there was a sea of students who
So first of all, before we even get to this bullshit, I want y'all to remember what he said. He said, enjoy your free speech, which, in my opinion, insinuates what? That he is aware that no one was doing anything wrong. They were just partaking in their First Amendment right to protest. I want y'all to remember that, because this is Mike Johnson, so you know he about to fuck that up. So go ahead.
apparently have been involved in the protest here, and I'm not surprised that they didn't welcome our visit, because we're calling out their activities. What the point we tried to make today is that this is not who we are as Americans. This is not an expression of the First Amendment. This is not an exchange.
So what I just say, y'all? Of course he did. Of course, didn't even take 20 seconds. Didn't he? He couldn't wait 10 seconds to contradict himself. He literally was at us. Well, he couldn't hear himself. Maybe that's why, because they were all booing him, perhaps. But what did he say? Enjoy your free speech. Enjoy your First Amendment right to protest. And then he literally says, this isn't the First Amendment. Well, no, then why did you say that? Why did you say that at the protest? It's like these people don't know that internet and YouTube exists. I promise you.
Range of ideas.
But I tell y'all, bro, these interviews be triggering the hell out of me. They're so stupid. I can't. But now y'all gonna have to deal with it with me. We're gonna have to. This is gonna be therapy for everybody. Because I know y'all don't like watching them too. So, but you got to, man. You gotta watch it, because you need to know that we're dealing with morons. Morons are running the government.
This is threats and intimidation of violence against Jewish students for who they are, for their faith. And that's a terrible trend that's going on in the country right now.
Where are the threats and the violence? She actually opened up the interview by saying there were peaceful protests. She opened up by saying that. He said, enjoy your First Amendment rights. He said that at the protest. He was physically there. Do y'all think, ladies and gentlemen, that they would allow, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike Johnson is still the Speaker of the House, correct? He is. Do you think that if the protests were violent, that the secret police, the FBI, the NYPD would allow the Speaker of the United States Congress to be present? If the protests were violent, would they allow the United States Speaker of the House, who is going there to challenge the narrative and the issue of the protest, do you think they would allow him to be present, y'all? They just get up there and lie. They get up there and lie, bro. It's so annoying.
We have these similar.
But some people, here's the problem. Some people, they're going to see tweets from Twitter calling it violent. They're Republican and conservative friends, or they're Zionist friends. So even Democrats, that was wrong of me, because Zionists, they don't know a party. They only know AIPAC. But they're going to go and see their Zionist friends that are saying this is violent. They're going to probably miss the whole part of the conversation where he said that go ahead and enjoy your First Amendment rights, even though he insinuating that he knows that they're not doing anything wrong, but he disagrees with them. And then you're going to get up here and they're going to watch this interview and be like, oh, they were violent. And then they're going to say it was violent. He's going to say it was violent. They're going to repeat what he said to their friends. Oh, it was violent. Why? Mike Johnson said it was violent. Mike Johnson also said they weren't doing anything. He also said, enjoy your First Amendment rights. He disagreed with them, which is fine. But then he gets in this interview and lies.
Types of activities and what are becoming violent protests on campuses around the country. And members of Congress, I believe, have an obligation, a responsibility to speak about this and to demand that it come to an end, because it's not good for us.
The main thing they were chanting was Free Palestine. How is that anti-Semitic?
Well, what's anti-Semitic is that Hamas endorsed this protest today. Within the last 2 hours, they issued an endorsement statement and heralded the students here and said, this is the next.
First of all, if that's the case, like, okay, I don't know where. So hold on, because I want y'all to hear what she asked him. They're just saying Free Palestine. How is that anti-Semitic? Credit to her for asking that very simple question. Basic level of journalism. How is it anti-Semitic? Okay, so you would expect a response about something the students did, right?
Test today, but within the last 2 hours, they issued an endorsement.
You would expect a response about students.
The main thing they were chanting was Free Palestine. How is that anti-Semitic?
Well, what's anti-Semitic is that Hamas endorsed this protest today.
I'm confused. Okay, so what's the definition of anti-Semitic? Once again, we're back at the question, guys. We're back at the same question, guys. So at first it was the students are violent. The students are using inflammatory language. The students are the problem. The students are clashing. Okay, so she's like, well, no, I was there, because now he can't. Maybe if she wasn't there, but she premised at the beginning of this entire interview, I was there. She said they were chanting Free Palestine. How is that anti-Semitic? So after you were talking about how bad this is because it's something the students did, you bring up ding, 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 Hamas. Of course they fucking brought. Of course it's Hamas. Of course it's Hamas. It's always, first of all, an endorsement. Yeah, I'm sure that Hamas would probably endorse people that are fighting against the genocide of the Palestinian people. I think like that's a pretty sane thing to endorse. But how is that anti-Semitic? And how does that, let's be clear, if you wanted to call that anti-Semitic, how does that make the students anti-Semitic? Where is the logic in that? How did it, which they don't really show, I don't remember hearing anything about it. I don't remember seeing anything about it. But you know, Mike Johnson gets the intelligence briefings now. That's what he says. That's the difference in Mike Johnson before and Mike Johnson now, the traitor to his nation. If Hamas, all the way in Palestine, decided to endorse a protest, which I'm sure they endorsed all the protests, that now makes the protest anti. You know what's funny about that? Y'all remember whenever that Grand Dragon, I wish I could remember his name, don't quote me on it, but y'all remember when that Grand Dragon for the KKK came out and endorsed Hillary Clinton? Do y'all remember that? Now, granted, Hillary Clinton actually is racist, but does that mean that Hillary Clinton is actually pro-KKK? That's what that sounds like to me, based off of Mike Johnson's interview. Hell, there's a Grand Dragon that came out and endorsed Trump. Now, it was like somebody going back and forth. But are we responsible for every single endorsement of something? There are conservatives who you might not like that like watching my show. Does that mean that I am now, like, whatever their beliefs are now attached to me? Their actions are now attached to me because they like my show? Man, yeah, they said they agree with Niko on the issue that he's right about. Can't stand that guy. Niko's basically a Ben Shapiro Democrat. Like, yeah, I know what I said. I said that on purpose because Ben Shapiro is a Hillary Clinton Democrat. I know what I said. That is the stupidest shit that I have heard in the last 5 minutes. I also know what I said there. Yes, 5 minutes. It hasn't. It's been a long morning of stupid shit. So it's only been 5 minutes. But good God, y'all. They're not even trying anymore. They're not even trying anymore. Got to say Hamas. He gonna, and I'm letting you know right now, he gonna work through all the talking points. So I'm preparing y'all.
2 hours, they issued an endorsement statement and heralded the students here and said, this is the next generation of leadership in America. By
the way, like and share, like and share, like and share. Shout out to all my early morning people who are up getting busy on this Thursday morning, especially if y'all all the way in California. I know it's super early for y'all, so I'm sorry I'm so hyped. Like I told y'all, it's 10:41 a.m. here in Hio, so we're way ahead of the curve on the energy level. And I got my coffee today, and I'm pissed. So shout out to all y'all that just now getting up. If I'm too much for y'all, turn down your TV. It's okay. I ain't gonna be offended.
If you're getting endorsed by Hamas, that's not a good look. It's not a good sign. Some of these students apparently are unaware of the atrocities of October 7th, or they're denying it. They deny that.
Okay, so I can't play. So once again, he said that these students are unaware of the atrocities of October 7th. I can't play that part because you know what he's going to say. He going to say the R word. He going to add some superlatives, right? You know, they love to add the superlatives and the hyperbole and the adjectives because the truth isn't enough. It isn't enough. So he has to add all the extra stuff. Okay. But y'all know what he's going to say. But if I let him say it, CNN's allowed to say it, but I can't. But y'all know what he's going to say. He's going to talk about babies in ovens. He's going to talk about the R word. He's going to talk about things that didn't happen. He's not going to actually give any evidence of it happening. He's going to say that the students are effectively endorsing it. So I'm going to have to skip that part.
At those atrocities. This is not who we are.
Speaker, in those early days, I was in some of the kibbutz and you could smell the death and the bodies. It was horrific. And yet what's happened since has been horrific too. And there's a student here, a PhD student at Columbia. I wanted to quote him. He is Jewish. He has written a testimonial about what's going on here right now, his experience on campus. And he says, I'll read it to you, the most pressing threats to our safety as Jewish students do not come from tents on campus. We should be focusing on the material reality of war. The munitions our government is sending to Israel, which kill Palestinians by the thousands, and the Americans participating in the violence. Do you think they're protesting the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza?
That Jewish guy must be anti-Semitic. Bro, I love the way he framed that. Again, I need y'all to see that again because it really concretorializes what a lot of us say. Like, it's more dangerous. Like, if you are genuinely worried about anti-Semitism and the dangers of Jews, because there are people that will take it to the extreme. There are some people who will not dichotomize a Jew for peace in a Zionist because it's been taken too far. You know that there are people like that exist. What makes it dangerous for Jews is the fact that you keep lumping them in together with these psychopaths and making it seem like it's okay to genocide, and all of them agree. He said it perfectly.
From tents on campus, we should be focusing on the material reality of war. The munitions our government is sending to Israel, which kill Palestinians by the thousands, and the Americans participating in the violence. Do you think that protesting the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, protesting the tens of thousands of innocent people who have died there, is anti-Semitic in and of itself?
I think there's always a place for debate in the free exchange of ideas, but let's not equivocate.
No, you don't. You literally just said that. You don't believe that. You don't believe that. Whatever.
And what's happening in with Hamas and in Gaza. This is a battle, as Netanyahu said, Prime Minister Netanyahu said, between good versus evil, light versus darkness, civilization versus barbarism. This isn't a close call. We have terrorists who preyed upon and attacked.
Civilization versus barbarism. I mean, that statement is actually truer than he might think it is, but not in the way that he thinks it is. But do you hear the way they do it? Light versus dark, civilization versus barbarism. Good versus evil. Rules-based order is what he's talking about. And do you know what rules-based order means? I'm gonna be very, very clear about this because I need some y'all. I know some of y'all may not like it because it makes y'all uncomfortable to hear. But what he means is this is white people from Western world going up against brown people who don't agree with us, who are sitting on land and resources that we want. It's white versus brown. And y'all know how they treat the white people who won't submit to rules-based order. Y'all know how they treated those people. If you was on the helping out the slaves because you knew it was wrong, they was gonna lynch your ass right along with them if they caught them. All the words that he said had nothing to do with facts, but it's called dog whistle. He said, all my little rules-based order. He's dog whistling. It's like Netanyahu said, good versus evil. Light versus dark. What do you mean light versus dark? Also, I'm not of the mind that dark does not necessarily mean evil. So I don't know why they associate it with. Oh, yeah, we know. Yeah, we do. We do know why. Barbarism. So I'm confused. Bombing hospitals isn't barbarism? Bombing hospitals full of innocent people isn't barbarism? Bombing refugee camps isn't barbarism? Luring starving Palestinians to a location under the guise that they're about to receive aid and sniping them down one by one isn't barbarism. What is barbaric about a Palestinian child sleeping in his head and sleeping in his house and getting a bomb dropped on his head? How is that barbaric? Interesting.
Act viciously and killed many innocent Israelis. And
quiet part out loud. This is what he said.
Act viciously and killed many innocent Israelis. What's happening in with Hamas and in Gaza. This is a battle, as Netanyahu said, Prime Minister Netanyahu said, between good versus evil, light versus darkness, civilization versus barbarism. This isn't a close call. We have terrorists who preyed upon and attacked viciously and killed many innocent Israelis.
Okay. So I want to play all that together. He just said the quiet part out loud. He knows that there are Israelis that attacked and preyed upon innocent Palestinians. We know the numbers. You know what's so crazy about those numbers that the Palestinian Authority has put out? Israel hasn't even denied the numbers. Okay? So we know. But he said, oh, they attacked and killed many innocent Israelis. That's the difference. If it's Palestinian, those lives don't matter. Those protests got to be shut down. Those lives don't hold the same value, but they attacked and killed many innocent Israelis. So it's different. He linked the barbarism, the light versus dark, the good versus evil. It said, and we know what the difference is because those were Israelis that got killed. By the way, from what we know now, most of those Israelis were killed by Israel because they were indiscriminately bombing them and attacking them from Black Hawks and shelling them with their tanks because they were scared to engage with Hamas one-on-one. So there's that part, but you see the way that he links that's on purpose. Those are AIPAC talking points. He is saying that there is a group that is human and deserves dignity, and there is a group that is subhuman, and it doesn't matter what happens to them. And if you say that their deaths are of the same value of Israeli deaths, then you are not following rules-based order, and therefore you are the enemy. That is what he is saying.
And the idea that they would be out here in support of that, Hamas is using civilians as shields for themselves. They put their operations under hospitals and schools. They're using.
That doesn't happen. That's not been. That still hasn't been. We're still waiting on that because everybody done debunked it. BBC debunked it. Independent journalists debunked it. other journalists are pissed because they're like, well, you want to let us in so we can see? And they're like, nah, I can't let you. Sorry. But you know, interesting, really quick. Because he seems really concerned because we're talking about this barbarism situation, right? This barbarism. It's barbarism. It's good versus evil. It's all that good stuff. And he brings up human shields. And that would be like just evil, just to support and justify and protect your military through human shields. And if anybody ever did something like that, I believe that's something that we should all condemn. Wouldn't y'all agree? What is this right here that I'm looking at? Oh, that says Israel. IDF used Palestinians as human shields on, let's get my glasses because I don't want anybody to think, you know, I do got vision problems. So let me just make sure, add some legitimacy to this. That says 1,200. Now, I've been speaking a lot of Portuguese lately, so y'all make sure that I'm saying this right. Does that say they've used Palestinians as human shields 1,200 occasions in the last 5 years? Not 20 years, not 70 years, just in the last 5 years. And is that from the Israeli defense officials? The Israeli Defense Ministry will appeal against the Supreme Court ruling banning the use of Palestinian human shields in raids, official says. Are you fucking kidding me, bro? Are you, excuse my language, y'all. I'm sorry if I got kids listening, but oh my God. Oh my God. I gotta say it again. This is Tuesday. This is 2005, y'all. This is 2005. This is 2005. The Israeli Defense Ministry will appeal against the Supreme Court ruling banning the use of Palestinian human shields in raids. You're trying to tell me that it was such a problem. They're using shields. Israel is so guilty of using human shields to such a degree that they just, like, the courts had to get involved and make it a rule that you couldn't do it. But he gonna tell you it's about light versus dark, civilization versus barbarism, good versus evil. They gonna tell you that this all started on October 7th. They gonna tell y'all that it's Hamas using human shields. But y'all had to go to court in y'all own country. And the damn defense ministry had to make an argument. They made an argument to continue, not like, because it wouldn't be any different, but still. Maybe it's a little bit different, okay, if y'all got rid of the rule and now you're like, damn, but Hamas is still doing it, and y'all can maybe save face a little bit by saying, well, we stopped because we realized how horrible it was and we're trying to change our ways, but Hamas is still doing it. No, they went to court so that they could continue to use Palestinians as human shields. Every accusation is a confession. It's all projection. All of it. How Hamas going to use human shields? They don't need to use human shields. Anybody with a gun, if you old enough to hold a gun, they're trying to fight on their own accord. They're fighting on their own volition. You don't need to use a human shield for a 16-year-old. No, you don't need to. They hate Israel enough to do it on their own. But y'all were using Palestinian human shields in raids, and you went to court to make sure that you could continue to do so. And this mother has the audacity to sit here and like, oh, they're using human shields. Come on, bro.
Using civilians in a theater of war. And so it's difficult. Why would someone blame Israel for trying to stamp out the very terrorist threats that are right there on the doorstep? We should not be dictating to Israel their military strategy. We should be supporting our ally, which is the only stable democracy in the Middle East.
Is there anything Israel...
The only stable democracy in the Middle East. Hold up real quick. The same stable democracy in the Middle East that right now has thousands of Israeli Zionist protesters trying to remove Netanyahu because he keeps starting wars so that he can't be removed. That democracy, the same democracy that no one in Israel trusts, because Netanyahu still keeps getting in power, and they're trying to get him out, and he will not leave. The former prime minister of Israel said, yeah, he keeps starting these wars because he knows, like, it's almost impossible to remove a sitting prime minister in Israel if you're under a declaration of war. He knows this. The only stable democracy, what is stable about what's happening in Israel? They're in the middle of committing a genocide, and the genocide is being perpetuated by a prime minister that their own people don't. And what makes it worse is that they're actually pro-genocide. The majority of Israelis are pro-genocide. And they're still like, yeah, but we don't like that guy. We want him out, and they can't get him out. There's nothing stable about a country that's full of pro-genocide people, pro-genocide citizens who can't even remove the man that they didn't want there to begin with, who keep starting wars. And that's a lie. They're not the only stable democracy in the Middle East. They're not the only. Syria is a stable democracy. You might be trying to destabilize a country, but the reason that Assad keeps winning, verifiably so, you can verify it, is because their democracy is stable. That's the only way. The only reason Iran can keep their leadership in power and have the people that they want in power is because no matter how many times you try to overthrow recently, their democracy is actually stable. Sorry for you. Not really. Like, they have stable democracies. They just don't have stable countries and stable economies because you're trying to destroy them. And to say that we shouldn't be trying to dictate their policy. No. If I'm giving you billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, and I'm paying for your goddamn health care, and I'm paying for your severance pay, and I'm paying your salaries and your retirement, I'm paying all your bills. You're not going to tell me what I will be dictating, especially if it's going to harm the interests of the U.S., which is exactly what's happening. We shouldn't be dictating what's going on. We should just be standing by. That sounds like a horrible friend to me. Go ahead, be the friend that lets your friend do dumb shit all the time and watch how long that lasts. Wait to see how long it is until it comes and bites you in the ass. Because that's what's happening. It's already happening. Cuck energy. And Mike Johnson, what the hell you doing in New York anyway? Shouldn't you be in DC? Defending the fact that you are a traitor to your nation, and hell, you're a traitor to your party. The whole reason they got Kevin McCarthy out is because they thought that you were going to come in and perhaps challenge Biden in some way. But instead, you've worked your ass off to give Biden everything he would have gotten under McCarthy, just with less arguments. So what are you even doing here?
Could do that would be over the line for you? Because when you talk about stamping it out, I mean, many innocent children have died and are dying at Israel's hands and the IDF.
There have been civilians murdered, but that is not the fault of Israel. It's the fault.
No, they drop bombs on them. They drop bombs on hospitals.
Of the terrorists, the Hamas operators and soldiers, the terrorists who have used these people and put them.
Trying to figure out, well, because, AIPAC giving the talking points. So, you can't call them soldiers because that actually means they're military. That they're military, they're not a terrorist organization. Operators like, yeah, damn it, I forgot. I gotta call them terrorists. Shit, slipped up. That's why he's like, I didn't do that. He don't know what he's like. Damn it, AIPAC gonna dock a check. They're gonna dock a little bit of that check.
Operators and soldiers, the terrorists who have used these people and put them into harm's way. Israel, I'm convinced, is doing its very best to prevent civilian casualties. But this is a war, and they're fighting for their very existence.
No, they're not. It's not a war. It's a massacre. It's a genocide. And you know what, guys? He said, really quick. He said that Israel is doing its best to prevent civilian casualties. Now, so maybe it would be difficult to know what that looks like if we didn't have recent examples of what that looks like. For example, Iran didn't want civilian casualties when it retaliated against Israel. So they were very strategic in their targets. They actually did hit their targets, but no civilians were harmed. Just like when Iran said, when they retaliated for Soleimani, they said, we're going to hit who we hit. We're going to hit where we hit, but they didn't want American civilian casualties. So they hit where they hit, and there were no civilian casualties. In other words, when a country says they're doing everything in their power to prevent civilian casualties, we have an example of what that looks like. And ironically, it's the country that Israel says is evil and is trying to destroy the world. Now, mind you, Iran has every single right to they had every single right to not hold back. Casualties be damned. They had that right. I mean, just based off of the eye for an eye, the way that the world works, retaliation, like they, especially the way that Israel's been acting lately, the way that they've been threatening Iran, the casualties that they've caused, like they had every right to retaliate whatever way they saw fit. But Iran was very clear they didn't want to kill innocent civilians. That's what it looks like. We don't need to guess what it looks like when you do. You trying to tell me when y'all literally killed, y'all sent one missile at the World Kitchen truck, y'all blew up one, but like they survived, and they called y'all to tell y'all to stop, please, Jesus Christ, stop trying to kill us, and y'all blew up another one. Y'all sent another missile, another drone. They called y'all again, please, for the love of God, stop trying to, and y'all sent another one. That was y'all trying y'all best to not kill civilians. I'm confused. I don't know I don't think he knows what that means anymore. So hold up. Whenever y'all lured, once again, a bunch of innocent Palestinians who were waiting for aid into a single location, y'all called them into a single location, and y'all started pew, 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 pew. That was trying your best. When y'all bombed a hospital, bombed 2 hospitals. Bombed 3 hospitals. Bombed 3 hospitals and multiple churches and mosques and a refugee camp. That was them trying their hardest to prevent civilian casualties. You see how flippantly he talks about the civilian well, they're trying. But when it's Israeli casualties, it's we have to destroy all of Gaza. Why? Because there were a few Israeli civilians. The value of their lives are different in the eyes of these people.
And they are not the aggressors. It is the other side. Some of the people here seem not to understand that. And I think that's a real problem. We can debate the merits of all these things, but what they're doing here is intimidating Jewish students. That's
like you can't, that's an APAC talking point. You know, he's just running through them because she just gave a whole example. Like, the Jewish student said, that's actually, they're not threatened at all. The majority of them are not threatened. They gave you what the real threat is. And you just like, they're intimidating Jewish students. No. If me saying pro-Palestine threatens you or makes you feel threatened, it means you're a Zionist. I mean, I can't help that. That's your fault. But how is that me threatening your life? I can't, especially if I'm Palestinian, for example, if I'm saying pro-Palestine, if you feel threatened by me saying I want to live and I want my family to live, you are the fucking problem. You're offended because you want me to be silent while your people massacre my people. Maybe you shouldn't be allowed to feel safe. Hey, maybe that's the case. Maybe we should consider that as an option. If me saying I don't want to die offends you, you are the problem.
the thing that is so problematic.
All right, so let me ask you about that, because when it comes to that, the NYPD, at least as of Monday, said they've not received a single call from Columbia University of reports of any physical harm.
Well,
no physical harm.
Right. But you have to speak to these Jewish students who are in fear of their lives, who are cowering in their apartments right now, who are not coming to class. In fact, the administration recognized the threat was so great, they canceled classes. Now they've come out with this hybrid.
No, they canceled classes because Robert Kraft pulled funding. Actually, the president of Colombia came out specifically and said, all the protests have been peaceful. They've come out and said that. That's why she went for so long preventing the NYPD from getting involved, because they were exclusively peaceful. In fact, the only violence that was expressed was from pro-Israel protesters who literally threw chemicals at the pro-Palestine protesters. So, okay.
Good idea. Well, if you're Jewish, maybe you do want to stay at home. Maybe it'd be better off for you. But it's so discriminatory. It's so wrong. And
what? Every class, so everybody got to go home. Every class is canceled. It's all virtual for the rest of the semester, which is only a month left, more or less. Everybody gets sent home, but now it's discriminating against Jewish people. I'm so confused, guys. The word anti-Semitic has just lost all meaning. I don't even feel anything when I hear it anymore. I just kind of want to laugh, which is sad because it shouldn't be that way. But
the class, in fact, the administration recognized the threat was so great, they canceled classes. Now they've come out with this hybrid idea. Well, if you're Jewish, maybe you do want to stay at home. Maybe it'd be better off for you. But it's so discriminatory. It's so wrong in every way. The responsibility of a university. I'm so confused. So the university did what you wanted to do. By his logic, they protected the students by sending them home because they felt safe. They had to feel locked. They felt locked up in their apartments or whatever. So okay, cool. If everybody feels unsafe, we'll just send people home and finish the class. Well, now it's discriminatory because now you're sending everybody home. That. You know what? Anti-Semitism in a nutshell. That is anti-Semitism in a nutshell. They believe if everybody has the same rights, it is anti-Semitic. He just said the quiet part out loud, people. He said the quiet part out loud for everyone to hear. He said, whenever they were hiding in their apartments by themselves, it was okay. Oh man, they're scared. Well, now you're sending everybody home. That's discriminatory. What? When everybody gets to do something, I think that's correct me if I'm wrong. Once again, I don't speak English all day like I used to. But the last time I checked, when everybody gets the same rights and everybody's doing the same thing, that's the opposite of discriminatory, isn't it? Everybody got sent home. Nobody gets to protest now. Well, no, I'm guessing people are still protesting. But my point is, no one's going to class. Jewish, Palestinian, or anything in between. How is that discriminatory? Well, like I said, he said the quiet part out loud. They always say that. I mean, on Twitter, they always say it. But in this interview, it's important to recognize he is telling you straight up, when everyone gets treated the same way Zionists get treated, it is anti-Semitic. You want people to care about Palestinian lives the same way you want them to care about Israeli lives? That's anti-Semitic. You want this group to have the same amount of power and influence as Zionists? That's anti-Semitic. You want to say Christ is king? You want to express your religious views? That's anti-Semitic. Hold up, but aren't you the same people? You literally call yourself God's chosen people. Well, that's different. Because we're God's chosen people. Well, I believe that Christ is king. That's my whoa there. You get in anti-Semitic territory again. We told you about that. Anti-Semitism, by their definition, is equity, equal rights. That's what that means. He literally told y'all.